Causeway in the north coast of Northern Ireland, where we have some incredible breaking news for you today. Well, this is exciting. Earlier today we're being told tourists and National Trust rangers saw the legendary fin disappear into a magical doorway within the rock face here at the Giant's Causeway.
20-ton slab of solid basalt swings open from a cliff face at Ireland's Giant's Causeway. A cliff every geological survey for 60 years has confirmed is solid rock. It stays open for exactly 11 seconds. Then it seals shut so cleanly that not a crack, not a seam, not a single mark remains on the stone. But in those 11 seconds, the drone footage captures something stepping out of the darkness behind the door. What it was, where it went, and what is still inside that sealed chamber.
I actually missed the door opening because it was captured by some amateur footage. What's actually happening here is Finn McCool, as you know, he's our resident giant around here.
Is the reason a senior geologist resigned in 4 sentences and walked away. The man who started it all. The man at the center of this story isn't a scientist. He's Kieran Doyle, a 3-4-year-old electrician from Dublin. On a Tuesday evening last autumn, Doyle drove north from the city because the weather forecast promised clear skies and a calm sea. He wanted a panoramic clip of the Antrim coast for his Instagram page. He'd done this dozens of times before. Fly the drone out over the cliffs, capture a few minutes of footage, post the best frame, drive home. The Giant's Causeway is one of Northern Ireland's most remarkable and popular sites, a place of both science and mythology.
The Giant's Causeway on the coast of Northern Ireland is one of the UK's outstanding natural features. Its steep cliffs and deep bays form a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
People flock there each year to see the Emerald Isle's first World Heritage Site. Doyle wasn't chasing legends. He wasn't looking for anything unusual. But what his drone recorded that evening would become one of the most analyzed pieces of amateur footage in recent memory. The video shows a section of the basalt cliff face moving. Not crumbling, not sliding, moving. A slab the size of a transit van, approximately 20 tons of solid volcanic rock, pushing slowly outward like a door on a hinge. Behind it, total darkness. The movement was smooth, deliberate, almost mechanical. Exactly 11 seconds. Then, the stone returned to its original position with surgical precision. No crack, no gap, no seam. Doyle almost didn't post the clip. He thought his drone had glitched, or the light was playing tricks. He rewatched it 6 times on his phone, and each time he could see the shadows shifting behind the slab. Something was open back there. He told a close friend he sleeps differently now, lighter, more alert. Like something shifted the night he watched that stone move and never shifted back. He uploaded it that night. By morning, his phone was ringing non-stop. Geologists, journalists, university researchers, all demanding the same answer. Was it real or was it fake?
Earlier today, tourists, historians, geologists, architects and giant experts all congregated here and have been examining the rock face to see if there is indeed any sign of Finn McCool, that legendary and magical giant.
One of those callers was about to drive to that cliff face the next morning, point a piece of equipment at the rock, and see something on her screen that made her go silent for nearly 2 full minutes. The geologist who broke first. Dr. Sarah Brennan is a senior geologist at Queen's University Belfast who has studied the Antrim basalt formations for over 15 years. She has published dozens of papers on volcanic rock structures across the North Atlantic. She is not someone who chases viral videos. When colleagues forwarded her the clip, she nearly dismissed it outright. Then she watched it a second time, then a third. She called Doyle directly and told him point blank either his footage broke every known rule of geology or it was the most sophisticated hoax she had ever seen. She drove to the site the next day. Now, here's what you have to understand about the Giant's Causeway. It's a stretch of northern Irish coastline made up of roughly 40,000 interlocking hexagonal basalt columns, formed when lava cooled into eerily perfect geometric pillars 60 million years ago. Local legend says a giant named Finn McCool built them as a bridge to Scotland. It's a beautiful story. What was actually sealed inside them is something else entirely. In all those centuries of study, all those geological surveys and ground scans, nobody had ever detected a single hollow space inside these cliffs. No ancient text mentioned a hidden chamber. No legend hinted at one. Dr. Brennan herself had scanned sections of that coastline dozens of times over her career and found nothing but solid rock every single time, until Kieran Doyle's drone caught it on camera. If you want to know the moment that door opens again, because every researcher who has seen this data, next scan is the one nobody is willing to talk about on the record: what the radar found. Dr. Brennan arrived at the coordinates from Doyle's footage early the next morning. The weather was gray. The wind was cutting sideways off the Atlantic. She set up her ground-penetrating radar, calibrated the sensors, aimed the antenna at the cliff face, and started the scan. What appeared on her screen made her stop moving. Her field assistant later said he thought the equipment had malfunctioned because she simply wasn't reacting, not writing notes, not adjusting settings, just standing there, eyes locked on the display for nearly 2 full minutes without speaking. Stay with me here, because this is the part that breaks open everything that comes after. The radar showed a massive hollow chamber hidden inside what every geologist had always assumed was completely solid basalt, 12 feet deep, 26 feet wide.
This diversity adds to the visual complexity and beauty of the site. In addition to its geological significance, the Giant's Causeway is home to a diverse range of flora and fauna.
A room sealed behind volcanic rock, with no entrance and no exit that any instrument had ever detected. That alone should have been impossible. But what the scan detected inside that chamber made the chamber itself feel like a footnote. 7 tall figures, standing upright in the dark, each one between 7 and 8 feet in height, positioned in a precise formation, spaced exactly 4.5 feet apart. Every single one facing the stone door, not randomly scattered, not collapsed, standing in rows, facing the way out. Now think about what that actually means. Basalt does not form around standing objects. It is cooled lava, not sedimentary rock that builds up over time. The only way those figures could be inside that rock is if they were already in position when the lava was still liquid, still burning at over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Sealed in there since the eruption that created the Giant's Causeway 60 million years ago, humans wouldn't exist for another 59 million years. Whatever those 7 things are, they were standing in formation before anything resembling a person ever walked this planet. And one of them was already gone. The second scan. The next morning, a geophysicist named Dr. Ian Gallagher arrived from Belfast with more advanced scanning equipment. Gallagher specializes in subsurface imaging, reading what's buried beneath rock, soil, and ocean floor. He has mapped underground river systems across northern Europe and worked on deep crust surveys for the Irish government. The kind of calm you only get from a man who has looked at underground images for 30 years and never been surprised by one. 20 minutes after he started the scan, his hands were shaking so badly he had to set his tablet down on a rock and step away. He walked in a small circle for a minute, rubbing the back of his neck, before he came back and looked at the screen again. This is the part that doesn't make sense. The higher resolution scan revealed that the 7 figures weren't solid stone. They were hollow shells. Thin outer casings with empty interiors, like cocoons. Like something had once been alive inside each one. Or maybe still was. The shell material defied identification. Whatever it was made of shouldn't have survived contact with molten lava. Nothing organic withstands 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
We need to talk a little bit about the environment in this area at the time these formed. So we're going to go back around 60 million years ago. There's volcanic activity. And as we had the volcanoes erupting, they spewed out lava that would have covered the entire area.
Nothing synthetic should either. Not for that duration, not under that pressure. Yet there they were intact, structurally sound, sealed inside rock that had been liquid fire when the dinosaurs were still dying out. Gallagher saved the scan to 2 encrypted drives before he left the cliff that night. By the time he reached his car, he had already received the first phone call from a number he didn't recognize. By the time he reached Belfast, the agency was already on its way to the site. The cover-up. Within 48 hours, government agencies were quietly notified. Encrypted emails, closed-door briefings. An environmental agency team arrived and issued a statement almost immediately. The drone footage was a trick of light reflecting off wet basalt. No chamber existed. No anomalies were detected. The area was perfectly normal. Their own lead consultant, Dr. Brennan herself, refused to sign that report. She read the draft statement twice, pushed it back across the table without picking up a pen. Nobody argued. She gathered her notes and left. That night, she sat alone in her office at Queen's University, Belfast. The raw sonar data was open on her screen, the hollow chamber, the 7 standing figures. The cursor blinked in an empty email draft beside it. It blinked for a long time, 20 minutes, 30. She didn't move. When she finally typed, it was 4 sentences. The last one read, "I have seen enough." 3 words. Her entire scientific conclusion after 15 years studying that coastline. She hit send and closed the laptop. She didn't stop there. Over the following months, despite the resignation, she compiled everything into a formal paper, had it peer-reviewed, and submitted it to Ireland's Geological Review Board. The board rejected it outright. Faulty equipment, flawed methodology. Case closed. A colleague on that board contacted her privately afterward. Off the record, burner phone. He told her the real reason had nothing to do with her science. If the public learned that biological heat signatures and rhythmic pulses had been detected inside ancient basalt, it would crack the foundation of everything we think we know about the history of life on Earth. Every textbook rewritten, every timeline shattered, every assumption about when intelligence first appeared on this planet thrown out the window. The next morning, heavy steel barriers and bright yellow warning signs went up around the entire section of cliff. Official reason, coastal erosion, falling rock hazard. Everyone who had seen those scans knew exactly why that section of cliff was suddenly off limits. What the next scan would reveal is the reason none of them sleep properly anymore. One of them is gone. Before the team was formally ordered to leave, Dr. Brennan returned to the site one more time, 4 days after the original scan. She wanted to run a comparative pass, confirm the data, document any changes. She expected everything to look identical. She was hoping it would. She wanted to believe the first scan had been a glitch, something that would dissolve under a second look. Stay with me, because this is where the timeline breaks. When the new image loaded on her screen, she grabbed the edge of the equipment case to steady herself. One of the figures was gone. Only 6 remained.
That said, these reports are unconfirmed at this stage, but it seems that the giant has gone into hibernation.
The stone door had not opened. Not once. Kieran Doyle had mounted a motion-activated camera aimed directly at the rock face the day after his original recording. It ran 24 hours a day for all 4 days. 0 movement on the exterior. Not a tremor, not a vibration. The door stayed sealed the entire time. Yet inside that locked chamber, what researchers at the site described as a 7-foot-tall figure had simply vanished. No dust, no debris, no crack, no tunnel, no trace. As if it had walked straight through solid rock and disappeared into a world that was supposed to be on the other side of impossible. Wherever it went, it didn't leave a forwarding address. They are warm, and they have heartbeats. Dr. Neem Callahan, a thermal imaging specialist from University College Dublin, was brought in to check for volcanic heat sources or underground water. She had done this kind of survey dozens of times on geothermal sites across Iceland and the Azores. She expected to find a hot ring, a magma pocket, maybe a buried water channel, something boring, something explainable. It was a freezing March morning. Air temperature 39 degrees Fahrenheit. The cliff face equally cold, standard Irish coast conditions. Then she aimed her thermal camera at the chamber location. The screen flooded orange and red. Inside the sealed room, the thermal data appeared to show the 6 remaining figures radiating heat at 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Healthy, living, person. That is not close to human body temperature. That is human body temperature. The exact internal core reading of a healthy living human being. And there is no mechanism in geology or thermodynamics that explains how anything stays that warm inside cold stone for even a century, let alone millions of years.
Giant's Causeway was created by a volcanic event some 60 million years ago, long before humans ever lived in this beautiful corner of the world.
Heat dissipates, always. It radiates outward and fades. That's a fundamental law of physics, not a theory. Sealed inside freezing basalt, surrounded by Atlantic Ocean air, Anything warm should have reached equilibrium with the surrounding rock in days, not millions of years. Days. Callahan recalibrated her equipment, swapped the batteries, repositioned the camera, and ran the scan from 3 different angles. Every time, 99 degrees. Steady, unmistakable. She borrowed a second thermal unit from Gallagher's kit. Same result. She asked her colleagues, dead serious, if they were playing a prank on her. When she saw their faces pale, tight-lipped, nobody laughing, she realized they weren't. She packed her gear into her car without another word and didn't respond to a single email or phone call for 3 weeks. When she finally did reply, it was one line. "I need more time to process what I saw." The team had also installed vibration sensors along the rock face. What those sensors picked up is the part that broke them. A rhythmic pulse repeating every 4 seconds. Consistent, steady, never varying. One senior researcher, choosing his words carefully, admitted on record that the pattern was indistinguishable from a slow heartbeat. 6 heartbeats, behind solid rock, beating in unison. And every reading they took after that one only got stronger. They are moving toward the door. Every 72 hours, the team ran a fresh scan. Every time, the situation got worse. The 6 remaining figures were changing positions. Not dramatically, a few inches at a time, barely perceptible between individual scans, but consistently, directionally, always the same direction. They were no longer in that precise military formation. They had clustered together and were shifting steadily toward the sealed stone door, slowly, deliberately, like something waking from a very long sleep and deciding it was time to leave. The researchers overlaid the positional data from every 7-2-hour scan onto a single composite image. When they saw the trajectory 6 data points on a clear, unbroken path toward the exit, nobody in the room said anything for a long time. Now think about what that actually means. These things have been locked inside volcanic rock since before mammals existed. They have outlived every species, every civilization, every empire that ever rose and fell above them. For tens of millions of years, they didn't move, patient, still, waiting. And now, right now, in our lifetime, they are heading for the door. The thermal readings weren't stable either. They would spike above 100 degrees with no external trigger, then settle back down to 99. The fluctuations didn't match tides, weather, or any known geological cycle. The team ran correlations against barometric pressure, lunar phases, and seismic activity across the North Atlantic. Nothing matched. The heat was behaving autonomously, responding to something internal, not external, something alive. Over 1 million tourists visit the Giant's Causeway every year.
This is truly remarkable. It's somewhere where mythology and science collide, and for centuries there's been so much debate about how this place was made.
Families walk across those black stones with their children, take selfies, listen to guides, talk about Finn McCool, with no idea that just 39 feet behind the rock, 6 entities are radiating body heat into the cold stone and inching toward a door that has already opened once. The blackout. In April, all monitoring equipment was quietly removed from the site. The researchers were told plainly, stay silent or your careers are finished. No publication, no interviews, no social media, nothing. But they couldn't destroy all of it. The evidence that survived. Kieran Doyle still has his original drone footage on 3 separate hard drives, kept in different locations across Dublin. He checks them weekly to make sure files haven't been corrupted or remotely wiped. The researchers who worked the site, Brennan, Gallagher, Callahan, and at least 2 others, kept personal copies of everything. Sonar data, thermal logs, vibration recordings, positional scans, time-stamped photographs of every equipment readout, all on encrypted drives where no agency can reach without a warrant. The last scan before the equipment was pulled showed the 6 figures still moving, still pulsing, still warm. The one closest to the door was only a few feet from the stone entrance. Its rhythmic heartbeat measurably stronger than the week before, getting louder, getting faster. The numbers they recorded that final night are still being analyzed in private. Nobody has agreed on what they mean, but everyone who looked at the data agreed on one thing. The next time someone scans that cliff face, there will be fewer than 6 figures inside, the one that already left. The question keeping every one of these researchers awake at night isn't about the 6 still inside. It's about the 7th. When they first scanned that chamber, there were 7 figures. Now there are 6. One is gone. It didn't break through the stone. It didn't open the door. It didn't leave a tunnel, a crack, a scratch, or a single grain of displaced dust. It simply wasn't there anymore. So where is it now? Somewhere beneath the Atlantic, drifting through cave systems under the Irish seabed, hidden in an unexplored cavern along the coast, buried inside another cliff face nobody has thought to scan, or somewhere else entirely, beneath a city, inside a mountain, moving through spaces we have never thought to look. Doyle, the electrician with the drone, told a friend something recently that he hasn't told anyone else. The night his footage went public, in the few seconds before the slab sealed shut, he saw something move at the edge of the frame, not inside the chamber, outside it, crossing the cliff edge. He cut the clip before that part. He has never released the full file. The remaining 6 didn't flinch when the 7th disappeared. They didn't scatter or rearrange. They just kept moving toward the door, patiently, steadily, as if the departure was expected, as if it was simply the first one to leave, as if they are all waiting their turn. We have spent our entire existence believing we were the first intelligent things to walk this planet. These figures say otherwise. Something was here long before us, sealed in stone, radiating warmth, pulsing with a rhythm that sounds exactly like a heartbeat, waiting inside that rock while every civilization we have ever built rose and fell on the surface above it.